in 2018, you guys released the album Changing Colors. So three more singles. I've Got a Hole Where My Heart Should Be, Nobody, and Saturday Night. Were you feeling massive pressure to following up your debut album with this one? So it's not the band's, sophomore album, but for you it is as a full-time contributor.
Um, I mean, not so much. I especially in those days, I was very much just looking at every moment in the studio as an opportunity. Like I said, I was so eager to prove that I could, hang with the big dogs, so to speak, and contribute in any way. And I just had so many musical ideas in those early days that I was just like, just just brimming with ideas and concepts and things that I wanted to try in the studio. So if anything, I was probably just pissing off my bandmates to being like, well, what if we do this? What if we do this? So by changing colors, I probably mellowed out a little bit. That record has the guitar work of Jimmy Boskill on it, who is just an amazing talent, a great pal, and a great guy to work with. Because he also has a million instruments that he can play and a million new stylistic things that he can bring to the table. So I think on that record, the most notable thing is that we were dipping into a little more country flavor, which is definitely the influence of Jim because he's a big time country guy and loves the kind of bluegrass country picking style. So, um, yeah, definitely more piano on that than I would have played on other albums. Like I typically gravitate towards electric piano, which I think is just my love of 70s funk coming out again. I love, organ and electric piano in that kind of way. But I think in that record, we were going for more of an organic country, Bob Dylan, Nashville skyline kind of thing. So I remember playing a lot more piano, country licks, that kind of thing. But again, yeah, it's another long, sprawling record with probably a few too many musical ideas in there. I think was that record the one that's three sides? Like it's a full record and then another side. Like it's basically another double record. So
Yeah, I kept looking. It was like 17 songs. Next album,
yeah.
17 songs. Like, wow, these guys have a lot to offer musically. Probably a year and a half ago, I had Blue Rodeo on the podcast, and when they came to Ottawa, I went out to see them, and man, Jimmy Boskill is ridiculous
Yeah,
as
he's
a
a talent. Absolutely.
yeah. When
Yeah,
when that guy rips on the guitar, it's like not just because there's lots of great guitarists, but almost everything he played, it's not just that what he's playing is great and it's challenging. It's just so tasty. Like he has such a great I don't know, ear or feel or something that everything he played was it just felt good and it just seemed right. I don't know if that makes sense as a review, but
no, absolutely. I mean, of all the guys that I've worked with and like been in the studio with, he's sort of the guy who can kind of like tap into the pure musical essence in a way that few can. And just like sitting and watching him play takes in the studio was just wonderful because he'd come up with these amazing ideas and each take would be very fresh. And not only does he rip on guitar, he's also an incredible steel player. He plays fiddle. He plays mandolin. It's basically if it's got strings on it, he can rip it. Like he's one of the most talented guitar players in Canada, and it was a thrill collaborating with him. And that's really kind of I think what took Changing Colors to the next step was his presence on that record because it's really something special for sure.
yeah, the rock and roll gods smile upon him when he plays guitar for sure. So that album, I believe, was recorded over a longer period than usual for other albums. That was like 6 months or more. What do you think led to it either taking that long or for you guys allowing that much time to flesh out the album?
Yeah, so we did that one at Taurus in Toronto, and I think it was just we hadn't really done a record over a long period, like you said, over a long period of time like that. Like we've done a lot of we're going to a place, we're working with X person, and we're just going to stay until the record's done. Whether it be 2 weeks or like I think the self-titled record was recorded in like 2 weeks in Nashville with Pat Carney, and then we did the Future Nostalgia at Stony Lake, basically all in a month with Matt Ross Fang. And then I think just the idea of having a little more time to kind of let ideas percolate and develop was very appealing, especially to Ewan. So we were like, but at this point too, most of us lived in Toronto. Like you and I moved out here full time to live in 2014, but I'd already kind of been living here since 2009. Ryan was out here by then, and Jim lived just outside of, like, I think he lived at the time in Port Hope, just outside of Toronto. So it was easy for us to kind of congregate in Toronto for like big chunks of time, and then just sort of work on this album at our leisure. And I think it meant that we had a kind of more easygoing process, and that the songs kind of developed more organically that way, because you're not, I don't know, you're not like, you get more time to fine tune stuff that way, and you get more time to think about stuff and to clear your head and think about some other things for a while, and then come back and work on music is good too, because you can kind of like, I don't know, the ideas turn out differently when you have work on them very intensely in short periods of time. Like sometimes it's good, but then sometimes you can't kind of have them develop in a nice way as if when you have the luxury of more time. I don't know if I'm explaining that well, but
Yeah,
they just turn out different.
yeah, you mentioned before that, you couldn't take full credit for the Video of the Year Juno Award. It's Video of the Year. Two more Juno nominations for this album. So Group of the Year and Rock Album of the Year. You can take credit for those nominations. I mean, those are, yeah, there
Yeah,
you.
I mean, it's a great record. It's one that I definitely stand by. A lot of great songs on there, and great playing, great solos, sort of just like top down. It's just, it's great to be recognized when you feel like you've made a good piece of art like that too. So, and also just the fact that at that point in our career, I think we've been playing 100 plus shows a year internationally and nationally, traveling around. I think it was just sort of a nice recognition by the sort of Canadian music industry that, like, hey, look, these guys are out there playing shows, putting on events. If you're a fan of rock music, go see the Sheepdogs. We'll give them a tip of the cap as, Group of the Year kind of thing. We didn't win, but nice to be nominated.